using it, he couldn't conceptualize anything greater than himself. So the word for the divine that we use, God, is his word for mighty man. Okay? And then that religion, Latin, R-E and legio. One means to do over again. R-E is to go back or do over again. Legio is to tie or to bind. So if you are into a religion, you're trying to tie yourself back to something or bind yourself back to something. Problem with us, we ain't figured out what the heck we're trying to bind back to or tie back to. And what I'm suggesting that you need to tie back to yourself. If any single man or woman could do any single thing that's great, then any other man or woman could do anything that's great. But somebody told us that it has to be a special man. You got to be Prophet Muhammad before you can be special. And so, or you got to be Jesus before you can be special. You got to be a Moses before you can be special. And all the special people we honor and all the religion, not a damn one of them are African. Isn't that something? All these special people. And every one of those religions they brought, the first thing they did was invade Africa and start killing African people, stealing our land, stealing our resources, raping our women. They're doing it till this day, every single one of them. Now, you can learn something from anything. I learned a lot from Islam when I first came here. I learned a lot from the Bible when I read it. I learned a lot from the Yoruba tradition, the Voodoo tradition, the Afrikan tradition, but ain't none of them my tradition. I'm an African American. People say, oh, you don't want to be no American. Where y'all live? Ain't none of y'all out at that airport trying to get on the plane, so stop it. America's a geopolitical space. There's no race called the American race. There isn't even an ideology called the American ideology. There's a geopolitical space called America. We live there. There's a race that we belong to called African, and we, the African, live in this geopolitical space. That makes us an African American. If I live in Nigeria, I'd be an African Nigerian. And I'd have to make that definition because there's white people born and raised in Nigeria. They don't consider themselves African Nigerian. They consider themselves French Nigerian, British Nigerians, because they got sense. We got everybody, I think it was Dr. Noble says, power is the ability to define your reality and have other people accept your definition of your reality as if it were their own. Now let me give you the single line definition of spirituality. I told y'all before, but y'all didn't listen because y'all didn't really want to hear it because it took you away from believing in Jesus and Allah and all that other stuff. Spirituality is reality. Spirituality is reality. Okay. All spirituality means is that you are dealing with your reality. And you're dealing with your reality using the wisdom of your ancestors and their efforts to deal with their reality. Now, when you do that, you do have to formulate some principles, some concepts, and some ideas that will allow you to systematically deal with your reality. When you make those formulations, we call that religion, because that becomes the tool that binds you back to the wisdom of the ancestors. And that's what this organization is doing. I think they talk too much, pray too much, and read too much, but that's what they're attempting to do. They're trying to put together something that will bind them back to the wisdom of our ancestors so that we can then use that wisdom to deal with our reality. The most fundamentals of reality is food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security. See, we get off into religion, we forget about that. But notice, all the other peoples that come to America, they get into business so they can provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security. So we are the only community in America who don't own the businesses and the real estate where we live. All these other praying Muslims, they own the business and the real estate where they live. The Hindus, they own the, I just passed down Hillside Avenue. The Buddhists, they all understand that their spirituality implies automatically that you must deal with your reality. And if you're dealing with spirituality and you ain't into fundamental reality, which implies that you must be building food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for yourself, you ain't dealing with spirituality. See, we want a spooky kind of spirituality. I used to be in the spooky one trying to get to this point where you say spirituality is that emanating divine powers that come as a result of the soul and the body working together around divine wisdom. That's bullshit. You understand? Sound real nice, all cute. Spirituality is reality. Everybody in this room, well, I ain't even messed with my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters because Mama Hebrew is saying that. Everyone in this room is sitting here as a replica of their mother and their father. You are their eternity. If that sperm and that egg hadn't kicked in and found some unity, they would die and be gone forever. But you, because that sperm and that egg kicked in, you became their eternity. They are living forever. And as you produce your offspring, they became not only you and your husband or your wife, but they became your mother and your father and your husband's mother and father and their mothers and fathers and their mothers and fathers, going back infinitely to the divine element itself, which was the first element out of which all of the rest of the elements that we are made up of came out of. That understanding is a part of the wisdom one must have if they're to deal with their reality and call it spirituality. People have taken the most simple shit and make it so complicated that we run around here praying and singing and dancing while other people is being able to feed their children, clothe their children, protect their family, provide employment, provide education, and they dealing within their spiritual organization. You think when they go in the synagogue on Friday, they're singing and shouting? Well, I guarantee you that ain't what's going on. Okay? Now in some of the black synagogues, we get to sing and shout because you took that Christian stuff on up in there. Some of them, but I know in yours, Sister Points, that y'all take care of business. In them synagogue, them lawyers are getting together doing what lawyers do. And the real estate people are getting together, and the diamond thieves, and the gold thieves of your, and they're figuring out their business, making their deals, doing what they got to do, and using all that to ensure what? That their offsprings, their children, is safe and trained and secure, and that their wives. And I've said it here before. What'd you have for breakfast this morning, sis? Tell the truth. We're in the Afrikan Poetry Theatre.
A turkey patty on wheat bread.
All right. Wheat bread and turkey. All right. A bird and some seeds. Okay. What'd you have, brother?
Cornflakes.
Huh?
Cornflakes with fruit.
Some corn and some fruits. Now one would think if logic of religion was right, we being human beings, you would kill, chop up some human and have some human for breakfast to replenish yourself. Because if you're a human being that's getting deplenished through your activities every day to replenish your cells, you kill another human being and eat it. But you don't do that, do you? You eat everything else in nature. You eat everything else in nature, and you know what? Because you are everything else in nature, and everything else in nature is you. See, if you want to understand spirituality, you got to take your reality and tie it up to what? CS. What's CS? Common sense. You got to hook it up with common sense. Because somebody's playing a game on us. Even in the Yoruba religion, I see my brother, you got on your legs, you know. They teach us a lot of stuff, but what they don't do is teach us the real stuff.
All right.
I'm going to get to it in a minute. I'm in the Masonic Lodge in Prince Hall. I'm a Master Mason. I can stand on the square. I know you know, got them locking the wisdom down so the one without the vision can't get it. Go tell the Grand Master, because you don't want to stand on my square. Because if I show you my symbol, it'll break your heart. Because my symbol is a crescent, a black crescent with 34, 33, and it's dark gray. And a second crescent adjoining that, that's a little lighter, with